We're going to use DraftKings as our standard for how we're going to pick our DFS picks. 6 guys from the DraftKings lineup. We're going to show them to you guys so that way you guys can see who we're picking. We're going to follow it up every week. You're going to see who we're picking, how well we do. And we're going to have some friendly competition between Wendell and I. I know I'm going to kick his butt during a lot of these things because I'm just better at this than he is. But
you guys haven't seen his record. You guys haven't seen his record in other fantasy sports we play against each other. It's not too good. We won't bring that up, but
listen,
yeah, no, I'm looking forward to it.
The only thing that's going to matter is what the people can see, and they're gonna see that this is the proof that I'm gonna just kick your ass and all this stuff.
I look forward to the challenge, my friend. I look forward to the challenge. So how do you want to do this? You want to go 1 for 1? You want to? I'll share one, you share one type deal, or do you want to go full
Let me do the lineup. Let me do my lineup, and let's see who we got. Maybe the same when you get your lineup done.
Sure.
And we'll go that way because I got some explaining to do on some of these picks. Okay. So I don't want you to cut me off. You know what? If you're gonna cut me off, I know you're just gonna trash my picks anyways. So feel free whenever you feel like it. All right.
All right. Sounds good. Let's roll.
So my strategy first, just quickly, is I'm gonna take a top guy. But I'm not going to take 2 top guys. I don't want to dilute lower down, in getting too far into the $6,000 picks, $6,000 picks on DraftKings. So I'm gonna go one heavy hitter. To me, that's Russ Henley. We talked about him in the previous segment. He's my number 1 guy. Hitting over $10,000 on DraftKings. So Russ is going to be my number 1 guy. Then I'm going to move to tier 2. I already talked about Russ and his stats. Very good stats. My tier 2 is someone who you talked about. Was Nick Taylor, defending champion. Comes in at 9,000. And I think, give me a defending champion at 9,000. Top 10 the last 3 years at this event. Sign me up every time for this. To me, this is a lock for my lineup. He's making the cut. Sign me up. I'm in. Nick Taylor is definitely my guy there.
Well, let's talk about that for a second. Who are some other guys up there that you could have taken instead of Nick Taylor at that price point? That might have been interesting.
Yeah, so you know what I saw? Harry Hall's being talked about a lot here. He's at the 9,100. I get it. Not so much experience on this course, so I kind of left him off. Also, his stats don't really hit well here. Not a big fan of him.
What about JJ Spawn?
Spawn, yeah. So Spawn was my next guy. He's at the 95, right? And so if you see my lineup a little bit later, you'll see, why I kind of structure it this way. Spawn was on the list 2 years ago. I think tied for 66th. So kind of fell off. If I'm going to take Spawn or Nick Taylor, right? Nick Taylor, top 10 last 3 years, made the cut the last 5 years, played a ton of rounds here. If you look at their stats, they're comparable as in overall stats for this course. And that's essentially, you're right. That's what I got to do, right? I'm picking between, if I can't take both of them, because if I do that, then I got no money left.
Right.
Spawn's possible, so I could have touched him. But Taylor's, if I have to pick between the two, sign me up for Nick Taylor. And even if you go the other way, let's say you drop Henley and pick up Spawn, you could do that as well, save some money. But again, if I'm picking between the two, I think Henley's my guy as well.
Yeah, and Nick Taylor's $500 cheaper than Spawn too, and you got a defending champ guy who's been successful here year after year. Like you said, I think that's a no-brainer between the two of those guys if you're going back and forth with which one you want.
Absolutely, yeah, that's where I'm lying with that. So moving down the board, Brian Harman is going to be my next pick, sitting at about 8,000. So Harman's interesting. His course stats necessarily aren't spectacular for this course, but the interesting thing about Brian Harman is each of the last 4 years, he's gotten better and better at this course. Tied for 56, tied for 48, tied for 32, tied for 18, and then tied for 21. So about the same performance last 2 years. He's made the cut 5 years in a row, played over 50 rounds at this course. If I'm looking for a guy to make the cut and try to make the top 20, I'm taking him at 8,000, right? This guy plays this course consistently, really like affordable range at 8,000. And I gotta pick a couple guys in this slot. So definitely signing me up for Brian Harman for sure.
Yeah, I like Brian Harman. I think he's a consistent golfer. Yeah. He's in the right price point there for you. That makes a lot of sense.
So it's very simple. My next pick is my golf guy. I can't pick a my golf guy, not put him in my lineup. So Nico Echeverria, Let's just call him Nico. Nico's my boy. Comes in at 7,900. I talked about him earlier. Great results, great stats for this course. And he's sitting at 7,900. I'm taking him, no problem. I think he's making the cut easy. And again, another, I think top 20, top 10 performer. I think he can do it. Tied for second last year. Definitely in on him. Next pick, you can't argue with this one. This is Denny McCarthy. We both talked about him. We both like him. Good performances here in the past, and his game actually is well-rounded for this as well. Kind of a bit like Brian Harman too, good performance, decent game, and coming in at, again, I think is 7,900. So definitely something good there. Solid pick for me. And it leaves me a bit of room, so I couldn't go too high. I couldn't get the high 8,000s on some of these guys. Because if I got there, then my next pick would have to be low sixes, and I don't want to take a low six as my last guy in my DFS. What that left me with was just about 7,000, I think 6,900. So I started searching, right? So last pick, I'm searching. I'm like, who's this guy under 7K that can put up a performance for me? And I think that was very simple for me. There's one guy in this price range that has had good performances at this course over the past few years, and it's Stevenson. Stevenson, he's finished tied for 30th each of the last 2 years, tied for 41 the year before, and tied for 7th the previous year. Okay, this guy, again, if I'm taking a $6,700 player off DraftKings and he's making the cut, sign me up. Like, this is something that, if I can take some high-end players and drop to a 6,700 and get a guy that's going to make the cut and potentially finish top 30 for that price range, that's my.
You want a guy that's going to get you points on the weekend, and he's the guy that's going to give you the best probability of doing that for sure.
That price range.
Right? Yeah,
I got to do it. So, anyways, that's my 6 picks. I love the shot. I love the.
I wish I had more, but honestly, you put some thought into those. They actually were a little bit better than I anticipated. Some guys, a few of them on there that I weren't really on my radar, but I can definitely see why you justify picking them. So no, they're good. They're good. I'll jump into mine. I'm sure there's going to be a little bit more controversy because unlike Ryan's a big stats guy. He's deeper into the stats. I'm a mix of that and gut feel, and so some of my picks are going to reflect that here, which I'm sure you're going to have some stuff to say. So, starting off, I guess my strategy really going into these DFS lineups is, I've got 2. I never want to complete my bankroll in it, so I never want to have a zero. I never want there to be zero. I always want there to be change left over, and the reason I do that is because I think a lot of amateur players, you being one of them, typically look to, let's maximize, spend every dollar we have, but that makes it, a lot of people have that same mindset, so you're going to end up being in a situation where a lot of people are going to have similar lineups to you. So I always try to be a little bit more contrarian in that approach and have, could be a couple hundred, could be 500,000. That kind of reduces your ability a little bit and some of the picks you're able to make. This one, I still had, I think, $200 left. My first pick, so I went 2 previous champions. First was Hideki Matsuyama at 8,600, won here in 2022. I mean, the guy's a ball striking savant, sets him up well to make another run here this year. He's top 20 in strokes gained approach, top 20 in par 4 scoring. Obviously, as I mentioned before, he ranks a little bit outside of fairways hit percentage, but still, his approach shots and stuff are really, some of the best going. So, took Hideki as my first there. Go back-to-back with another champ, Nick Taylor, defending champion at 9,000. Like you said, I mean, this guy just consistently is a performer here at this event. He's always ready to go. It's always an event that he's seems like he's geared up and able to make a strong play through the weekend at. So Nick Taylor is my second.
The interesting things, right? So, you saved a little money from my Henley to Matsuyama pick, I think about $600. So This should leave you with a little bit more. You might not have to go down to a Stevenson type pick later on, right?
I kind of balanced it out a little bit more by not going super high there at the start with some of those guys in the higher range. So tried to get guys who I thought were have had a lot of value. And Nick Taylor at 9,000, I thought this guy should be I thought that was a steal. So Same with Hideki. I thought he was a steal. And then I'll go with another Canadian boy, Corey Connors at 8,600.
Yeah.
Just again, as I mentioned before, I mean, this guy, he's top 25 in a lot of different categories. If he putts well this week, he should be there. So he was.
You have to put my golf guy in there, right?
Of course, and he's my golf guy. So like he's at 8,600. I think he's a steal. And so we kind of got you kind of see in my strategy here. I went 9,000, 8,600, 8,600. Then I kind of like to normally around the fourth guy. I like to go off if I'm going to take a guy who's a little bit lower. I like to do it now because it then allows me to go back and kind of look at instead of being like this is all the money I got left. I take the guy who I think might be a long shot to win, and then I go back and start reassessing some of the other guys and piece together the final couple in my lineup. So I went with a guy that is going to be super controversial, but Tony Finau at 7,100. Obviously, he's had some. I can see by your face you don't love it. Let me go through this, and
Please.
I'll let you say your 2 cents. This is a gut feel play. This is purely that. If you're looking at statistics, Tony is not the guy to play here. If you look at his previous events last year that he played, over the last couple, I mean, Tony's either a guy who's going to probably lose the tournament on the last hole and come second, or he's not even going to make the cut, and he might not even finish the tournament. That's basically the 2 different Tonys you're getting. You're not getting a guy who's going to just make the cut and come 40th. He's either coming top 10 or he's getting DQ'd. So, I mean, Tony is a gut feel. I like him when he's on. Usually he's in a very good place when it comes to strokes gained off the tee, around the green. Putting is always his issue, though, regardless if he's on. So he's a wild card.
The funny thing about Finau is everything you said about Finau is the same thing I thought, and it's exactly the same reason why I didn't pick him, actually.
Yeah. I mean, you went the safe play, Stevenson. I get it. And I kind of went win or bust. Was a Tony Finau play with me. He's either going to win me this lineup this week and a lot of money, or he's going to lose me the whole thing. So we'll see how it plays out. Next on my lineup here, 7,600. A lot of people, I feel like he flies under the radar. A lot of people don't realize he was top 5 on the tour last year in strokes gained off the tee. For majority of the season, he was top 2. So he's a guy that really can hit the ball and play. He's going to put himself in position to score. He just can't get the putter figured out most tournaments. He's a guy that barely cracks the top 100 in strokes gained putting, but strokes gained approach, top 35 guy. So if he can put it all together and make a few putts, I think at 7,600 he's going to be a really good play. And then the guy that we both have all over the place, Danny McCarthy. He was your dark horse, or not your dark horse, but he was in contention for that on our list there. And really, I mean, the guy led the tournament halfway through last year. I mean, he showed he can do it. Just struggles off the tee a bit. If he can figure that out this week, I think he's going to be there. So that's who we got here, rounding out my top 6. I think I'm going to beat you this week if Tony plays well, but we'll see how it goes.
You know what? I think this is going to be a very easy season for me if you start on this Tony Finau. I'm going to pick a guy that probably shouldn't perform well here and does. Then, I think I'm going to get a couple week wins off of you. Other than the Finau pick, I see it. You know what? I hope next week you shut me up. I doubt it's going to happen because I'm definitely going to be hitting up on this pick next week, letting you know how great he did. But good lineup.